Please sit down. Welcome at the opening academic year 2018-2019 of our Eindhoven University of Technology. Welcome academic staff, welcome support staff, and of course welcome our students. Special word of welcome to our mayor of the municipality Eindhoven, Mr. John Jortsma, also chairman of the Brainport Eindhoven region. Also welcome to the mayors of the neighbor municipalities Helmond and Veldhoven, Ellie Blanksma and Letty Demmers. Welcome. It's great that you attend our opening of the academic year. Of course, also welcome to our colleagues from industry and institutions. And of course, a very warm welcome for our guest speaker this afternoon, Mr. Robert Jan Smits. From 2010 till 2018, Robert Jan Smits was the Director General for Research and Innovation at the European Commission. Therefore, Robert Jan is very well known in the world of universities, research and industry. 2 weeks ago, we saw our new freshmen on campus. More than 2,000 new students coming to our university. It was a great introduction week. And last week we had the intro for our masters. They and all other students start their curriculum today. So my message for the student is, work hard, study serious, and be ambitious. But now the opening of the academic year 2018-2019. This year the opening is a bit different than the years before, a bit smaller and more modest and serious. Why? Because of our decision to organize a new great academic celebration day. So make all a note, on September 21 we will have TUe Academic Celebration Day Momentum. And now I can announce the first speaker. Our first speaker will reflect on our new strategy, TUe Expedition 2030. Last year we had serious discussions, debates and talks with our staff, students, industry and administration about what should TUe do in facing future challenges. Now our new strategy is definitive. Here is our eminent Rector Magnificus, Frank Bayens. Applause, please.
So welcome to the opening of the academic year 2018 and 19. It's really great to see you all back on campus after this exceptionally warm and dry summer that we've had. Last year we launched the Expedition 2030. It's really an effort to look into the future of our university. What is the education going to look like? What kind of research areas are we going to develop? What's the impact that we would like to have on society? What is the position that we have in the landscape of higher education, both in the Netherlands as well as in Europe? Now clearly, there's nothing as difficult as predicting the future. But if there's one thing that we can do as engineers, is create the future. It's our university. It's our future. And all of that with the ambition to be a leading science and technology university. Now, given the limited resources that we have, it may well be that we have to punch above our weight. But I also feel that we should lift the veil of modesty. Because after all, it's not size that matters, but it's quality. And we sure know how to deliver quality. Now, we've had a number of these questions, and we formed working groups. And a lot of people have participated in that. Each of these working groups formulated their vision of the future on the topic that they were investigating. That was assembled in the 50% version, and we distributed that among the university and discussed it, I think, almost with all of you. And we really appreciated the kind of feedback that we've had on that. There's a very interactive sessions that we had at all departments. And on the basis of the feedback, we now have the 100% version. And if you leave this lecture hall later on, you can pick up a hard copy of it. I really hope that the ink is dry, because they literally arrived this morning. But a big thanks to all of you for the way that you've been participating in the discussions and the input that you have provided. So I really hope that this is now our plan. This is the plan of this university. It comes with a new logo, and if you may have seen it already. It's a bold logo, but it's also a proud logo. We really should be proud of this university. It also, if you look at the plan, it comes with a subtitle, Drivers of Change. That's you. Now, we formulated this plan with a number of global challenges in mind. Clearly, we have a sustainability challenge. If the whole world population would live the kind of lifestyle that we have here in the Western society, one Earth would not be enough. We would need at least 5 versions of it. And that relates to the energy sector, material sector, even the healthcare sector and so forth. So it really matters to us as well. The other thing that we notice is that we're living at the brink of what many label the 4th industrial revolution. And it's because of the convergence of a number of disciplines that new things happen, which actually may shake up the world economy. It's at the intersection of physical sciences, material sciences, biological sciences, and digital sciences that new technology is emerging, but also new science. So it does have an impact on what we do. Who could have imagined a couple of years ago that DNA can be used for computing, to give you but one example? Increasingly, society demands from us that we have an impact on society, next to the primary responsibilities that we have of education and advancing of know-how. And perhaps even more importantly, that we reflect on the impact of technology. Sometimes we were able to create beautiful technology, but we're not really aware of what the consequences are. So to give you an example, Google Glass. Suppose that my glasses would continuously monitor you, provide me with detailed information about you, could even read your emotion, and give suggestions to me how I can manipulate you. To me, a horror scenario. So I'm quite happy that this hasn't made it into the consumer market yet. And sometimes technology can elicit rather unexpected human behavior. And this is an example thereof. Now, we also, in higher education, have a number of drivers of change. Know-how, knowledge, is now basically available everywhere. And in particular with our students, almost literally available at their fingertips, because they have their phone in their hands almost every hour of the day. They can take an online course from almost any university, which means that the transfer of knowledge is no longer the privilege of a university. Fortunately, there's a lot of other things that we can do. Provide context, for an example. And our graduates are increasingly involved in creating exceptionally complicated systems. This is a well-known example from a nearby company. It requires them to have deep know-how. They should know exactly what they're doing. But also requires that they have an understanding at the systems level. A machine like this cannot be made by a single person. It cannot even be made using a single discipline. So it requires that our students have the ability to function in multidisciplinary teams and have a basic understanding of the systems level at which we have to operate. If you look at where R&D is happening today, it's increasingly happening in global innovation hubs. Because despite all the modern communication techniques that we have, physical proximity still matters. So you see that all of this is clustering in global hubs, and we're quite fortunate that Brainport is one of those hubs. And these hubs are globally connected. But these hubs are populated with people from all over the world. Just have a look at Eindhoven today. Very different from 20 years ago. So if you take this together, our graduates need to have deep disciplinary know-how, need to have some sort of an understanding of what's happening at the system scale. And they need to be able to function in international and multidisciplinary teams. So it will have an impact on the way we educate our students. And the mission of the university is actually relatively straightforward. We educate our students, undergraduate, graduate, and increasingly postgraduate. Think about lifelong learning. And we advance knowledge. And we do that in our discipline, science and technology, and all of that for the benefit of humanity. So our responsibility is to provide our students with a rock-solid academic education, which means that we have to equip them with deep know-how, but also with the skills that they need for their future. Now, a beautiful way to achieve that is by intertwining research and education. It's the research mindset that sets them on a path to lifelong learning. Now, an academic education is much more than, say, a sequence of courses and a nice graduation project. It involves all sorts of activities that we have here on campus. It includes participation in the student and study associations, being part of a student team, going to a beautiful lecture, taking part in the activities of Studium Generale, or attend a very inspiring lecture by a Nobel laureate. All of that makes the academic education. It's a unique, once-in-a-lifetime experience. And it makes you grow as an individual. That is all something that cannot be replicated online. That's why we have to have an on-campus university. Now, if we look at the way we educate our students, there's a lot of things that we can do with the regular sort of courses that we have. But providing for the kind of context that we're looking for and learning how to address these complicated challenges, regular courses may not be enough. And challenge-based learning, I think, is an answer to some of these challenges that we see. And it is our way, I think, to educate T or pie-shaped engineers. Deep disciplinary know-how in at least one discipline, that's a T, or sometimes even two, but with sufficient breadth to work in teams and to address the complicated challenges that we have as a society. But all of that requires personal attention. We have to be able to talk to you guys. Now, there's a large bulk probably of our students that is quite happy with a predefined program. But more and more we see that students would like to tailor the program to their individual needs. Sometimes they want to go faster, sometimes they want to go a little bit slower. Sometimes they want to take an additional course. Sometimes they even want to take 2 bachelor programs in parallel or 2 master programs in parallel. All of that requires a certain flexibility as well as personal attention. That's why we said that in 2025, the student-faculty ratio should not exceed 20. We're beyond that limit right now. And if you look at this morning's newspaper, that's all about this. It also, if we need improved flexibility, and at the same time improve the kind of quality that we provide to our students, we also have to enrich our online learning environment, our digital learning environment. And that's why we have launched the Boost program. The second responsibility that we have is to advance knowledge in our domain. And the foundation of it is basic research. It's the basic research that we do that allows us to address the challenges of today and tomorrow. So we need to strengthen the foundations of what we do. We need to strengthen the core disciplines of this university. And you do that primarily by hiring top talent. And I'm quite happy with the fact that last year we had, as an example, 4 EST starting grant laureates. But it's probably the biggest challenge that we will face in the next decade or so. To have the best possible people come to this university and provide them with an environment where they can grow and flourish. So a lot of attention will have to be given to that. And they require a top-notch infrastructure. And by making it into a shared infrastructure, you can have access to really high-end quality labs. But it's not just the apparatus itself, not just the devices themselves, it's also the know-how, how to use it, and the entire scientific interaction that's happening around these labs. So we more and more, I think, should stimulate creating of shared infrastructure. And that relates to the choice of, say, 6 research domains where we would like to move forward. This is not a new organization. This is essentially a hiring agenda, an investment agenda, because we're going to invest in the underlying disciplines that together build these cross-disciplinary research teams. It's about excellence. So we're going to invest 12 million euros on an annual basis in these domains, specifically in startup packages, shared infrastructure, and high-risk research programs. That's the idea. And clearly, we have to embrace the whole open science paradigm. But I feel we should go a little bit further than, say, open publication and fair use of data. I'm quite sure, Robert Jan, that you will say quite something about it, so I'll leave it to that. But it is really our desire to share the research results that we have with our colleagues and society, but also having the ability to listen to society. What are the questions out there? And what kind of answers can we provide to that? Now, some of these challenges have a complication, are too complicated basically for a single university to solve. And you need to collaborate with others. In the Netherlands, we've said that we would like to strengthen the interaction with both Utrecht and Wageningen. This would be an international powerhouse if they would be combined. At the European scale, it's the Eurotech Alliance, EPFL, Munich, Copenhagen, École Polytechnique, and Technion to be added. But we should never forget that we're at a very special geographical location. This is a world-class innovation center that we have in Eindhoven, the Brainport region. And there's a magic number to it, 80. I will not take it away from you, Jan. I know what you're going to say about it. So remember the 80. It's the magic number. If we really want to have an impact in the domains that we have selected, both from a scientific point of view as well as from a social point of view, we need to develop thought leadership and be willing to take position. Engage in a scientific debate. Know what the next steps are in a certain domain. Invite the best possible scientists to Eindhoven and have our young people involved in that setting. But we should also engage in the public domain. After all, you know what you're talking about. So I'm very happy that Bert Meijer is willing to take up this challenge and provide content to the Eindhoven Advanced Study Program. And as a function of next year, after he finishes his work on the sector plans, we will develop this program in more detail. Before I close, one more thing. We should act as a single university. We're only as strong as the weakest link in this university, which means that there should not be a distinction between services, education, and research. We really should work together to make this a top-notch university. So when I think about this university and the kind of words that come to my mind, it's an open university. It's personal and very engaged. I think it's a beautiful university with exceptionally talented people that make this community very much alive. With that, I wish you a beautiful new academic year. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, for your excellent speech about the expedition towards 2030 and your very nice pictures on the slides. They're very beautiful. Is our future inspiring, isn't it? Our next speaker is, as I said, very well known in academia, research institutions, and industry. He was for 8 years the Director General for Research and Innovation at the EU Commission in Brussels. He did an excellent job with Horizon 2020, with an 80 billion euro program for research and innovation. And now he has a very special assignment as the Open Access Envoy of Europe. Over the last years, Robert Jan Smits fought for the case of open access. A quote from Robert Jan Smits: "Europe is not paying research anymore that is not published open access." May I ask your attention for Robert Jan Smits?
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. And like all of you gathered here today, I have a passion for science and innovation. On this photo, you see the launch of the first Bulgarian CUBE satellite. This happened in May, just before the summer break. And the satellite was brought up by a resupply spacecraft to the International Space Station. At the moment, the satellite is in orbit at 30,000 kilometers per hour. You won't believe me when I tell you that this satellite was designed, invented, engineered and assembled by a very small Bulgarian startup called Endurosat. It is composed of 18 persons. They not only developed this satellite, they also paid for it themselves. Endurosat is led by one of the most impressive innovators I've met in my life, Raicho Raichev. It's just amazing what he is accomplishing. And before he created his satellite company, he developed a very interesting online space education program. It's a kind of a Farmville, it's a game. And he was able to convince astronauts and top scientists from the European Space Agency and from NASA to contribute to this program. Very impressive, this all. Last year, I've met Bertrand Piccard. Bertrand Piccard was the one who flew non-stop in a plane called the Solar Impulse, only on solar fuel, a clear renewable source of energy. When Bertrand wanted to build the Solar Impulse, he went to Europe's main airplane manufacturers and wanted to partner with them. But everywhere he got the same message. It's impossible to build such a plane. It will be too big and the batteries will be too heavy. Forget about it. It's impossible. But Bertrand did not give up. he finally turned to a boat builder. A boat builder. And this boat builder, he did it. He built the solar impulse. And you know why? Because the boat builder did not know that it was impossible. Isn't that an amazing story? And it shows the power of science and innovation. And it shows the power of those who think out of the box. We have many innovators in Europe, like Raicho and like Bertrand. And also when I visited your university a couple of months ago, I met a couple of these brilliant young innovators who want to think out of the box, who want to extend the frontiers of knowledge, and want to just do their thing. Unfortunately, however, the university system we have in Europe as a whole is neither helping these young innovators nor rewarding them. We did a survey, and you see here the results. Fewer than 40% of all European students believe that the current university programs encourage students to be creative and innovative. And 80% of these students are of the opinion that higher education institutions, their universities, do not play a strong role in contributing to innovation at national and regional level. And should we be surprised by this? Actually not. Academic careers in most academic institutions in Europe are still determined by the number of publications in the high-impact journals. And how do we recruit our staff? Based again on the number of citations, the number of publications in the high-impact journals. And on basis of what do we rank our universities in Europe? Again, on the number of publications in the sophisticated journals. I think it's time that we are developing new metrics and that we assess our universities and the staff of our universities on other things, of what we as society expect from our universities and from our scientists. That is the knowledge they transfer to industry, or the problems they solve for the local economy, or the support they give to policymaking, or the education they give to young talents, or the way they engage the citizen in citizen science. Of course, I recognize the importance of excellent science and of publications, and I've seen the plea of the Royal Dutch Academy. But still, I think we should assess our universities and our staff on other metrics than just the journal impact factor. Well, I'm the only one who thinks like that. President Macron, and here he is, held a few months ago his famous Sorbonne speech. He called for entrepreneurial universities. He called for modernization of universities. And he called for the creation of truly European universities, where groups of universities in different European countries get together to work and to create strategic alliances. And in this way, of course, scale and scope can be developed, and there can be excellent cooperation. And therefore, I very much welcome, and Frank already showed it, the Eurotech initiative, which Jan Mengeles has started, where indeed top universities partner together. And this will, of course, allow the researchers at these universities to do more in collaboration, but it also will allow students from these universities to spend time at different locations. And perhaps one day, it might lead to smart specialization between the universities or to the development of new curricula. And that we need new curricula, I mean, for me, it's very obvious. At the moment, our society, our port authorities, our banking system, our regional governments, our hospitals, our industry is crying for data experts and data analysts. But there's not a single university in Europe where you can get a degree to become a data scientist. Data science is always an add-on in the context of the current curricula. You want to give another example why we need to change things at universities? At the moment, people who go into a PhD program in most European universities are taught to become academic researchers. But only 6% of all these people end up in academic research. A complete mismatch. So we need to modernize the universities. At the moment, there are in the top 200 universities in the world, 82 which come from Europe, of which 9 are in the Netherlands. And that's quite an amazing contribution which the Dutch science system makes. But the key question, and Frank already mentioned it, is are the European universities geared to face the challenges of the future? Are European universities able to attract the best professors, researchers and students? Are they able to offer the innovative curricula which will attract these brilliant young minds from across the world? I'm convinced that we need to modernize our universities and that reform is desperately needed. Also, to address the famous innovation paradox. Europe has been very good over many years in transforming euros into knowledge, but our problem has always been to transfer the knowledge back into euros. And that means that we need to invest much more than ever before. We seem to have been missing out on the digital technologies, on the digitization of our society. And if you look at the number of high-tech unicorns, we see that there are 106 located in the United States, so 59 in China and only 26 in Europe. And of the top 15 high-tech companies in the world, none is located in Europe. Now, I realize very much that we need to do more. It's not just about modernizing universities which allow Europe again to become the innovation leader in the world. We need to do much more. We need to develop the right framework conditions which allows innovation to flourish. We need to support disruptive market-creating innovation. We need to bring science and innovation much closer to the citizen. And, last but not least, we need to invest as Europe much more in science and innovation. In the year 2000, Europe heads of state and government said that in the year 2010, Europe would have the most competitive, knowledge-based economy in the world. And to reach that objective, all 28 member states agreed that they would spend 3% of their GDP on science and innovation. Well, we all know what happened to that. We are stuck at 2%. Yes, there are some good kids in the European class. Take Germany, take the Scandinavian countries and Austria. Germany recently declared that it will go towards 3.5% of investments in R&D from its GDP. The Netherlands is lagging behind. The Dutch government is only spending 2% of its GDP on science and innovation. And while we talk a lot about it, things are going extremely fast in the Far East. China, over the last decade, increased its R&D spending with 22% per year. And Korea has announced that it soon will invest 5% of its GDP in science and innovation. We have done, at the European Commission and my department, a lot to convince policymakers, ministers, and notably the finance ministers, of the importance of investment in science and innovation. We did a study with Nesta and the Lisbon Council, which showed that the economic growth between 1995 and 2007, which we had in Europe, was for 2/3 thanks to science and innovation. And we also did a study which showed that labor productivity increase in Finland was for 40% due to, again, innovation. And Browning Hall has very much showed that those companies that are investing in R&I have a return on investment of up to 30%. And even the return on public investments is in the order of a factor 4. But politicians are not receptive. Yet, the challenges which we are facing in our society are enormous. Think of climate adaptation. Think of water shortage. Think of epidemic diseases. Think of renewable-based economy, food safety, cybersecurity, fight against terrorism, next-generation manufacturing. And in a way, we are lucky, because science and technology can offer solutions to all these challenges. And we have more of these know-hows than ever before. Think of big data. Think of artificial intelligence, 3D printing, 5G, robotics, digitization, Internet of Things, quantum computing, artificial organs, CRISPR-Cas9. And therefore, the politicians in Europe need to put their money where their mouth is. They need to invest big time in education, science and innovation. There is, however, some good news at the European level. The European Commission has the intentions to build a new program for science and innovation called Horizon Europe. Horizon Europe is supposed to get a budget of €100 billion, the duration of 7 years. It will be a continuation to a large extent of the program Horizon 2020, which all of you already know. But there will be a couple of novelties. First of all, there will be a number of large-scale missions, type of Man on the Moon, and there will be the creation of the European Innovation Council, which will fund disruptive market-creating innovation, notably done by startups. The Netherlands is an extremely successful participant in the European programs, and each year around €650 million goes to Dutch universities and Dutch companies. And your university does extremely well and is involved in many, many projects. I've read the strategy paper of your university, which just was presented by Frank, and I'm very much impressed by it. You want to be a dynamic partner in this internationally vibrant ecosystem. You are proud of being embedded in the Eindhoven-Brainport region. You want to boost interdisciplinary research and stimulate entrepreneurship. And you want to position yourself at global level. You want to attract the best talents and invest in new teaching methods. You recognize the importance of digital technologies and digital skills, so I can only congratulate you with this strategy paper. I've come to the end of my talk. Europe has the potential to be a very strong global science and innovation leader. We have the best science base, and with 7% of the world's population, we generate 1/3 of the world's knowledge. We make the best cars, trains and planes, and our food and pharma companies are first class. We have a highly educated workforce, many creative innovators, and our universities are really top-notch. And therefore my plea, let's use our potential to the full. Let's invest more in science and innovation. Let's strengthen and modernize our universities. And let's give our young talents all the room and support they need. I wish all of you a very successful and enjoyable academic year. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Robert Jan, for your impressive speech on the future of our universities. You convince us all that we can't sit on our hands. And I hope that with our new strategy, Expedition 2030, with our ambitious academic staff, our support staff, we can give an answer on your call for action. Thank you. Of course, our final speaker is our inspiring President of the Executive Board, Jan Mengelers. He needs no introduction. Looking outside in, his speech is about the challenges of the university in the Brainport region the coming years. We already could read it in today's papers, your strong opinion on quality in education and the workload of our staff. Jan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jo, for your nice and kind words. I have to say that I don't feel so exciting and so inspiring as you were indicating. I have a voice like a dock worker after a very hard night. But it's just not the emotion of the media that I have faced this morning. It's just a quote. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and students, in his book Leesbaar Landschap, writer Willem van Toren describes how he shows a Chinese colleague the Netherlands. To his surprise, the man had never seen a polder. Van Toorn explained to him what it was and how it worked. The Chinese colleagues thought it was a great idea. And that's exactly what it is, writes Van Toorn. The Dutch landscape is an idea. It would not exist at all if people had not thought that it could be created out of all that water. So almost everywhere where you stand in the Dutch landscape, you stand in the ideas of people. End of quote. Indeed, the Netherlands exists because we were and are able to turn water into land, words into deeds, and science into reality. Because we were and we are able to really connect theory and practice to applied research, technology, and innovation. This is not only has given us dry feet, but also economic power and international respect. It gave us a third main port, the high-tech engine of the Dutch economy, in addition to the port of Rotterdam and Schiphol Airport. We are Brainport Eindhoven, a region where the most complex high-tech machines, systems, products and parts are invented, delivered and integrated. Machines and technologies that make it possible to create tomorrow's products and to invent solutions for the great societal challenges. Machines with which we go beyond the boundaries of the imaginable. And this university, this campus, is the pivot of that Brainport region. It's not just an idea, nor some wishful thinking of a proud university president. It's a fact. Research shows, and here comes those 80% of Frank, research shows that 81% of the Dutch engineers working in the Brainport Eindhoven region graduated from the Eindhoven University. So I repeat, 81% of the Dutch engineers working in the Brainport Eindhoven region graduated from this university. So graduates from other Dutch technical programs do not seem to find their way to this high-tech region. And for once, this is not to blame to the National Railway Company. But to be aware, to say it poetically, we are the source for this region, and we are the only source in Netherlands so far. And that is a big thing. Furthermore, the demand of innovative researchers and inventive engineers is twice as high as the higher education institutions altogether are able to deliver at this moment. In this region, there will be about, for the next 10 years, 120,000 vacancies. In Europe, Robert Jan was mentioning data sciences. In Europe, there will be 400,000 vacancies in the coming years in data sciences alone. And to be frank, Robert Jan, you are on the right spot. You can learn data science and graduate here on data sciences. So yes, our industry, our economy needs more technically skilled people. Brainport Eindhoven needs more technically skilled people. And the place to educate academic engineers is this university. But our university has reached the limits of its growth. We have now more than 13,000 bachelor, master and PhD students. That is twice as much as 10 years ago. And yet our staff has increased only a little due to financial constraints. Our lecture halls and our laboratories are overflowing. It's more and more difficult to maintain the right student-teacher balance, a balance that is needed to make sure that our students receive what we would like to call challenge-based experimental education, with much personal contact with their teachers on a campus where people take care of each other. That is our identity. That is not the quality we want to offer, it's the quality we need to offer. That is the only way to educate academic engineers who embrace disruptive innovation, who push the frontiers of science, and who are able to lead the way in a changing society, now and in 2030. To be able to keep doing that, knowing that our economy and our Brainport region needs more engineers, knowing that every year more and more students opt for a technical education in the Netherlands, we need to invest in long-term solutions. And yes, by that I mean more money. Not at the expense of the humanities, nor by blocking the influx of foreign students. Those are short-term and very short-sighted solutions. Because in a technology-driven world, we need the humanities. And to stay in tune with the need of our international stakeholders around us, we need an international classroom. So to continue to offer the same quality of education on a growing number of students, we need at least 50 million euros per year extra on our existing budget. And what is 50 million in the big scheme of things? It's half a mile of a highway. It's one Manchester City defender even. And it's a minor painting of Van Gogh. 50 million euros, 50 million bucks, my God. And it's also a fraction of the money that our cabinet is willing to spend on the abolition of the dividend tax. That abolition is meant to boost the Dutch investment climate for international companies. But we all know that one of the main attractions in our country, and especially this region, is the highly technically skilled people. So I am sure that our future is not about fighting for international companies. It's all about fighting for talent. What we need is a long-term view. Invest now, prepare for the future. And as Benjamin Franklin so famously said, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. That could be our national motto. Because in this country, we pride ourselves on our long-term vision and our aptitude to preparation. That is why we are so obsessed by our pensions. That is why we signed the Climate Treaty of Paris. That is how we kept our feet dry. But to be frank, I don't see our 50 millions magically appear in next year's budget. So we have to deal with the reality of today. And to avoid the unacceptable increase of workload of our staff and the unacceptable overcrowding of our lecture halls and laboratories, we have to raise the dikes. That means we have to limit our growth in the coming years. And this is a big step. But I would rather limit our growth than limit our quality. Because here at Eindhoven University, quality matters. Quality is our leading principle. That's why I choose, together with my colleagues from the Executive Board, to limit the growth by applying an enrollment limit to 4 more majors in addition to the 4 of last year. And this means that 75% of the new students entering this university from next year on will undergo a selection procedure. That is serious stuff. That means that a selection procedure will be applied to a total of 8 out of the 15 bachelor degree programs. We have already, since this year, the industrial engineering, the industrial design, computer sciences and biomedical technology. And for the next year, most likely there will be added, not agriculture, that's for the architecture and built environment, mechanical engineering, innovation sciences, and most likely mathematics. But all this will be clarified in the next coming months. And for the 7 other remaining majors of our curriculum, we will watch the water levels closely to prevent wet feet. And of course, we intend to ensure that this enrollment limit is as temporary as possible. So yes, we do appreciate the offers of industry, companies and the FME to provide us with teachers and lecture halls. Together we will explore all possibilities. But again, we will not concede our principle of quality. If we can turn great industrial R&D personnel into great teachers, we are all for it. If we can use industrial facilities to meet the demand of next generation's education, bring it on. But we will devote time and energy to explore these ways further. We will roll up our sleeves these coming years and to seek out solutions. We will educate more students and the lifelong learners online, as you just heard our rector say when he outlined our strategy 2030. We will recruit more scientific staff as fast as possible as we can, even when structural funding is not yet in place, because we feel we have no time to waste. We have no time to waste. We have to keep investing in ideas to conquer the challenges of our future. That is our Delta plan. So the Dutch Nobel Prize winner Ben Feringa, and Frank already showed him, recently taught at our university. And he said, quote, "We scientists are bad at predicting the future, so we must create it ourselves," unquote. And in the tradition of this university, we used to say, already for more than 60 years, if you can imagine it, we can make it. Here, nowadays, we do, here in Eindhoven, at the Eindhoven University of Technology. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jan, what a challenge for our university. You put quality before number of students, a growing number of students, quality of our people, quality of our academic staff. Your quote, "If one can imagine it, we can make it," is exactly what our university is, where innovation starts and people matter. Dear colleagues, honorable guests, this was the opening academic year 2018-2019. Once again, make a note in your diary. September 21st, we will have our TUe academic celebration, Momentum, as we call it, with the degree ceremony, the honorary doctorates, education awards, and of course, a big party for students and for our staff. You are all invited. And now, it is Horeca Est. Because there is a reception in the Senate Hall. But first, the cortege of professors will leave the Blauwe Zaal. Thank you for attending this meeting. Thank you.
Okay.